Hello, welcome to another Facebook Live on the MyHeritage Facebook page. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us from near and from far, no matter what time it is, where you are located. A special shout out here to Fiona, who's joining us from Melbourne, Australia. I believe it's 3 in the morning over there. I may be wrong, but that's how important doing genealogy is. As genealogists, we all know that sometimes you stay up really late in the wee hours of the night, digging into your family history, learning more, trying to get more resources. That's exactly what we're going to be doing here today. So we're so glad that you've made the effort to join us. Thank you to everybody. If you haven't yet, please let us know where you're joining us from today, what the weather is like, where you are. I see a lot of people in the United States talking about the heat and humidity where you are. So we hope that you're indoors doing some genealogy, taking a little bit of a break from the outdoors if the weather is not so nice where you are. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, Megan says hello. Hi, Megan. Thank you for joining us. It's so great to see you all with us today. We have a fantastic session lined up with a speaker that we've been trying to get on our show for quite a while, so we are so thrilled. Before we get to today's session, I'm going to let you know about a giveaway that we have today. For today's session, we will be giving away a MyHeritage Complete Plan. The MyHeritage Complete Plan is the best plan that we have to offer. It includes unlimited access to 14 billion historical records on MyHeritage, as well as unlimited access to all the MyHeritage photo tools, which maybe you've played around with before. Maybe you've done a few animations of photos or repaired some photos, colorized some photos. It's really, all these photo tools are just fantastic and can really bring these images from the past into sharper focus and make them seem more alive. So a complete plan is an amazing gift, and we hope to give it away to one lucky viewer today. All that you have to do to enter is just leave a question for our speaker in the comments section, or let us know yourself. We'll be talking about cemeteries and cemetery records. Let us know yourself what you've learned through cemeteries, maybe visiting a cemetery, or through a cemetery record, a death record. Please let us know in the comments section what discoveries you've made yourself. We'd love to hear about them, and you'll be entered in today's draw. So we'll be giving that away at the end of today's show. In addition, we have extended our hot DNA sale that we have going on at MyHeritage. So for anyone who wasn't able to take advantage of this amazing deal on MyHeritage DNA kits, you still have some time. This deal will be going on until July 4th. So a few more days. We hope that you're able to take a look and take advantage of this amazing deal on MyHeritage DNA kits. And we'll be putting a link in the comments section so that you can purchase DNA kits for yourself, for your friends, for your family members. Do some early holiday shopping already if you're that organized. So it's a great sale. We'll be putting a link there, and you can all check it out when you have the chance. So I'd like to introduce today's speaker. We have with us Amie Tennant. She is the genealogy reporter, and she brings us genealogy news, education, and inspiration. She's a professional genealogist, nationally known speaker, and internationally known blogger. She provides blog and written content for many top companies and societies in the genealogy field, and it's really it's an honor to have her with us today. So let me bring her onto the screen so she can say hello to all of you. Hello, Amie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Good. I'm hot too, same as everybody else I can see.
A lot of comments about the heat.
Yep.
Great. Well, it's good that we're all indoors.
Thank goodness. And I at least have some air conditioning, so I'm pretty grateful for that right at the moment because it's really, really humid.
Fantastic. Oh, it was stalled a little there, but we got you back.
Okay, good. Oh no, I hope it works.
Well, we're really looking forward to today's session. Do you want to tell everyone what you'll be talking about?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about trolling the virtual cemeteries. And we're going to be talking about cemetery and burial records and how they might differ from death records, how to find them, how to use them, and what goodies you might find in there.
Fantastic. I think it's something that we don't learn enough about, and I'm sure that everyone will have a lot of takeaways.
I hope so. I think you will.
Great. So do you want to bring up your screen?
Yep, let me do that. All right. How's that? Can you see the presentation mode yet?
One moment. Let me put it. Perfect. We see it. Yeah, it's all good.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to take it away then, if that's okay, Esther.
That would be great.
Great. Well, this topic, trolling the virtual cemetery, it kind of came to me because, we don't always have the opportunity to fly somewhere or drive somewhere to see the cemeteries and view the tombstones and the possible records that exist. We're busy, we have full-time jobs, we have family, money may be an issue. And so we need these other options, and that's where we have virtual cemeteries. And you might think, yeah, I don't even need to go to the cemetery anymore because everything's online. And there are some really good websites for finding cemetery information online. They're fantastic. We're going to talk about several today. But you still may want to put on those good shoes and gather up a few of your toolbox kit items for cemeteries and still go trudging through the weeds and so forth to find your ancestors, because not everything is on the internet. But let's talk today about three really big ones. Actually, I've added a fourth too. But Find a Grave, very popular. BillionGraves, you're probably familiar with that one. And Deceased Online. And then there's a new one that I've added to the lecture called internment.net. So we're going to be talking about each of those. Now, virtual cemeteries help genealogists several ways. They help you to locate a grave, like literally locate the grave. Some of these virtual cemeteries have GPS coordinates, so you can't go wrong by, you know what I'm talking about. You arrive at this gargantuan cemetery, and you have no idea where your ancestors are buried. So locating a grave specific location is helped by these virtual cemeteries. It helps us to collect genealogical data, dates, places, identifying other family members or other relatives, and sometimes even helps us to find pictures, obituaries, and biographies that really help us put together more of a story or a timeline for our ancestor, get to know them better. So let's talk about Find a Grave, because it's pretty much the biggest online cemetery website there is. And you can find that at findagrave.com. Now, there's a couple different ways to use Find a Grave. I'm going to show you how I like to do it, and I call this my effective search criteria. I typically will search by a first and last name. Here's the thing. A Find a Grave memorial is created by any individual. And that individual might say, I'm going to create this memorial for Anthony Gerzina. But you only ever knew Anthony as Bud Gerzina. And so if you put the name Bud Gerzina in here, you may not find it, because the name has to be pretty much just like what the memorial made, or how the memorial was made. So I don't put a middle name, because a lot of times these memorials don't include a middle name. So I just put in the first and last name. I do not use year born and or year died. I use instead a location, and I go by county, state, and country. If I don't know the county where I suspect the person has died or been buried, then I would just pick a state. If it gets too many, you can always guess a county, which might be better than going through all the matches in one state. And then click search. Now you'll see here that your matches can be refined, or you can add some criteria to them. And in this case, I'm going to choose the second one down here, Robert Cole in Stapleton Cemetery. And you will see this is the memorial page for Robert. You'll notice we've got a birth date, birthplace, death date, death place, a location where the person is buried, a picture of Robert and perhaps his wife. We don't know. We've got a little sentence here. Robert Cole was killed in a slate fall accident in a coal mine on the 13th of November, 1958. And we have a tombstone picture. Now, there's lots of information we can glean from this one page. First of all, you can share this memorial. And if we were to click on share, we could share that through Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, email. I love to put these on Pinterest because you could make yourself a Pinterest board full of find a grave memorials for your relatives in a certain location. That's kind of fun. We could save by clicking here on this plus sign. We could save it to Ancestry, create a virtual cemetery, much like creating a board on Pinterest. You can create a virtual cemetery of all your relatives in one location, or by surname. Copy it to a clipboard or even print it. Now, because this is my memorial, it's one that I created, I have the option to edit if I'm signed in. To sign in to Find a Grave is free, but they do want you to sign in. Because this is my memorial, I can edit it. I can transfer the management of it, because at Find a Grave, whatever memorial you create, you are the owner of. You have responsibility, you have jurisdiction, you have the ability to change and contribute and view other people's suggestions to changes and so forth. Or I can delete that memorial. So this transfer management just means that maybe I would give someone else the memorial to be in charge of. Now, at this example, I don't own this one. Okay, I am not the memorial creator. I do not own it. And so when I look down here at the middle section, instead of edits, it says suggest edits. And if I click there, I can put in some additional information. Maybe I know that Annie's middle name was Marie. I could put that in there. Maybe I know her nickname was Mimi or Mimi or Nanny, or something like this. Now, when I save those suggestions, it goes to the memorial page owner, and then they can decide whether or not to add those new edits or suggestions that you suggested. Remember, I talked to you about this virtual cemetery option you can save to. So the virtual cemetery option, just so you know, that one requires you to be logged into your Find a Grave account as well. And here's what it kind of looks like. You can create your own virtual cemetery, and you can do that by location or surname, maybe just a family group of persons. And then you can start adding people to your virtual cemetery. So then when you log back in, you can look at your cemetery and see all the people that are related to you in this one grouping. Now, if you have looked up your ancestor on Find a Grave, you're going to notice quite a few things. There may be a picture or two. If there isn't a picture, but there is a memorial page, you could request a photo by clicking here at the bottom right, or you could add your own photo if you have one. Again, you need to be signed in to contribute in this way. Find a Grave also provides a source citation for every memorial, and that's really important. And an accurate source citation is what we want, isn't it? So to find a source citation for your memorial page of your ancestor, scroll all the way down and you'll see source citation, and it's in blue. That means it's hyperlinked. And so when you click on it, it pops up the source citation. And you can see here it is done in the traditional Elizabeth Shown Mills format, which we consider to be a standard format for genealogists. That's just simple as copy and paste right there. Put that into your tree or your software, or even print it in some other fashion. So let's do another search, because there's so much more that we can find here at Find a Grave. And we're going to search for the Hoxie family. They were living in Rock County, Wisconsin. And I'm not real interested in one particular person. I just want to see everyone in that family. So I might leave out first name and middle name and just put in a last name, Hoxie, and then put in a location, Rock County, Wisconsin, United States, and click search. Wow, we have a lot of wonderful things. As you can see, lots of pictures of tombstones and even people. And let me tell you a little bit about this flower power. That's what I call it. That little icon there of a flower means that somebody has left a quote unquote flower at the grave. And sometimes, and most of the time I'd say, that flower was left by a relative. And when we find living relatives, we find additional information. So we're going to really pay attention to that flower. Now, we're going to go ahead and click here on Benjamin Sargent Hoxie. And wow, look at all this. We've got a full name. We've got a birth date and place, death date and place, picture. In fact, there were 6 pictures. 2 flowers were left. So those are possibly 2 different relatives. But, oh, and we have this great bio down here as well. Can't forget that. But where did those photos come from? What source provided his birth and death dates? Were those specific dates on the tombstone? How about the location where he was born and where he died? Where'd that come from? And what about that great biography? It was super, but where did it come from? So let's start with the beginning. Where did that picture come from? Well, every picture that is uploaded has a photo added by, and then a hyperlinked name to the user who uploaded the picture. And so if we click there on that word Hoxie, it pulls up this member. Here's this member has been a member of Find a Grave for 6 years, 9 months, and 18 days. I can click on send a message, and through the Find a Grave system, I can message Hoxie. I might put in here, the subject would be Benjamin Sargent Hoxie, memorial number 1234567, and then my message, there was an image that you had uploaded for Benjamin. I'm wondering, do you have that picture? Is it in your possession? Where did you get it? And click send. Now, as for the bio, where did the bio come from? Well, sometimes you can tell. Sometimes they'll actually put that this came from a certain book or a certain newspaper. Sometimes you can tell it's an obituary. If you can't tell, or if they haven't noted where the biography is from, then scroll down to the very bottom and see who originally created or who is maintaining the memorial. You can't tell, in this case, which one of them put that bio there. You don't know. But you could write to each of them through the email system here at Find a Grave and ask where they got the bio. And that too can sometimes lead you to additional information, especially if they've done a lot of research on that person. Where did this information come from? This exact birth date and place, this exact death date and place. Here is the tombstone. Do you see an exact date for birth and death? Do you see a place listed on that? No, we don't know. So before you write the information down, you need to find the source of that. Let me go back here. Those types of sources would be possibly a death record, an obituary, maybe a marriage record, a Bible record, and so forth. But just because you find a grave said his birth date was on, April 1st, 1827, or whenever it was, unless there's a source, you don't want to assume it's correct. Just as an FYI, Find a Grave has an app, and the app can be really fun, especially it's summertime. We're going on vacations, and you can install this to your Apple device or your Samsung device or what have you, and do things on the go and visiting different places and cemeteries and so forth. And the app is really fun. And I'm not going to go into that a lot today, but take a look at that. It is free and for everyone. Now, we're going to talk about BillionGraves. BillionGraves is really growing, especially lately. It has really kind of boomed, if you will. But it still has not quite, it hasn't quite made it up to Find a Grave in numbers. But BillionGraves is working very closely with FamilySearch and MyHeritage, and so it's probably just a matter of time. You definitely want to log in to BillionGraves so that you can really use the website well. So we could click here on Search BillionGraves at the top right corner, and we're going to search again for Robert Cole. We might put in first and last name here, place, county, a state, a country, a state, and a county, and click search. Now my Robert Cole's not in here. All right, but let's just say that instead I happen to be looking for Robert J. Coles Sr., this number 2 item here. So I'm going to click there. And now I'm at what I call Robert's profile page, or we might say something like his memorial page. And you'll notice we've got birth and death records, birth and death dates. We've got the option to edit the record, add images, add family, add memories. And then we have these 4 options right here across the bottom: life information, gravesite, MyHeritage, and family. So down here, we've got life information. Let me click on that so we can look closely. And you'll notice in this case, Robert J's tombstone actually has his birth date and his death date, the exact dates, and for his wife named Margaret. So that is pretty neat. Good information there. And we could use this picture of the tombstone as a source for his birth and death date. You can usually see about 8 nearby graves. That's the nearby graves section right here. And you'll be able to click on the right arrow to see these 8 nearby graves. And you usually can see, like I said, about 8 before you have to upgrade to a paid account. Now, I didn't and couldn't tell exactly how nearby they meant. Is it within the, X many feet? Is it X many yards? Is it anywhere within the same lot or section? I don't know how they determine that. But you could take a look at these, and of course, if there were any names that were similar or other family names on the tree that you recognize, you would want to take a look at this. If we scroll down, we see a section that says find more about Robert J. And this is what takes us to MyHeritage. So let's say I wanted to click here on the census records. There are over 5,000. It pops me over to MyHeritage. Excuse me. Now I do have an account at MyHeritage, and love having that. If you don't, you can often use MyHeritage at your local library, your family history center, locally or in Salt Lake. And there are numerous free options, free databases from time to time at MyHeritage. So don't be afraid to just click that and see what comes up. You'll see here that I can filter over to the left as to which census I'm interested in. And in this case, I found my guy, Robert J. Coles, living with his parents in Virginia in 1920 census. And I can get a whole bunch more information for my guy. Scrolling down a little bit more, this is back at BillionGraves. I click on family and I can see, whoa, excuse me. I can see that there's an additional person listed as his family named Margaret T. Coles. And as you know, that was his wife listed there and engraved on the same tombstone. Now down a little further, you see it says gravesite of Robert J. And you see that little dot right there. That is indicating exactly where Robert's tombstone is, or perhaps just where he's buried. Maybe there's only a marker, or maybe there's nothing. And if you click on this image, it will take you to Google Earth, or at least some of the time. And the GPS there at Google Earth allows you to look around. You could literally look around to see where this cemetery is located. Is it near a church like this one is? Is it near a hill? Is it near a creek? You know, all these little things. It just so happens, I'll tell you this fun story. I had not been to my mother's hometown where she was born, back in the holler in Pennington Gap, Lee County, Virginia. I had not been there probably since I was 9 or 10 years old. And we were going on this great family trip with my children and my husband's family. And we were only going to be about an hour or two away from Pennington. And I was convinced I could find that holler. I just knew I could. So before we started on our trip, I went to Google Earth and I typed in Pennington and I started looking around Pennington. And I remembered certain markers, if you will, a little store, a curve in the road, a particular mountain that has a face in it that's very known to everyone in the area. And I knew that if I followed this road, that at some point it would branch off to the right, and that was the holler. And I could remember what it looked like. So using Google Earth, I went to the holler and I found exactly where it was. And so then when we arrived in Pennington, it was super easy to know right where to go to find the holler, because I'd already been there on Google Earth. So definitely use this amazing technology to not only find your cemetery and your ancestors' grave, but you might find their house. You might find their old one-room schoolhouse, or any number of amazing things. Now, of course, there are pros and cons with everything. And there are pros and cons with BillionGraves. Excuse me. No one owns a memorial page at BillionGraves. Everybody shares. Everybody works together. BillionGraves is linked to FamilySearch and MyHeritage. It has GPS locations. There is a free app for BillionGraves, just like there was Find a Grave. Now, there are not nearly as many entries as there are on Find a Grave, but like I said, it is growing quite quickly. Next, I want to talk to you about Deceased Online. This is maybe a website you've not heard about because it's a central database for UK burials and cremations. And there's a lot of things here. There are digital scans of cremation, burial records, registers, photographs of graves and memorials. There's cemetery maps that will show you locations and so forth. Now you can search Deceased Online for free, but you can't do the advanced search, and you can't actually see anything past the initial search. So let me show you. First of all, users can purchase a subscription for £89 a year, although some of these terms have changed recently. So they've got a silver subscription, they've got a gold subscription, and a platinum subscription. And you see here how many records you're allowed to view. Now, you do not have to have a subscription. You could do a pay-per-view, kind of like you find a record, you pay a couple bucks or pounds for that record, and you can just see the one. So let's say I was looking for James Ritchie between the years of 1780 and 1785, and it just so happens that only one result was available. And this one was buried on 23rd of May, 1781 in Kent. And if I felt like this was likely my relative, this was a real good possibility, I would click on the hyperlinked name and then look and see what item is it. Well, it's a burial register summary. And it is going to tell me that I can order this for £2, a pay-per-view item. And so I could do that if I wanted to. Now, because of time and because I want to move on to several other things, I would encourage you that if you have family in the UK, that you learn more about Deceased Online at the following address, www.deceasedonline.com. Here is something fun, and I've only recently started using this website. It's called internment.net. They have over 25 million cemetery records, transcripts, and burial registries from cemeteries across the world. Now, when you get to internment.net, you can search by location or browse. So I'm going to choose United States and just click there on United States right here in the middle. And then I'm going to browse by state. And I'm in Ohio, so I'm going to choose Ohio to see what's available. And they have all these counties listed. You'll notice the counties in red are the ones that are hyperlinked, that have something. The ones that are gray, they do not. So I'm going to click on Miami County. And I can see that the following, what is that? Maybe 12 to 15 cemeteries have something to offer. I'm going to look at this Center Friends Cemetery. Center Friends Cemetery. It gives me a GPS coordinate so I know exactly where it is. It tells me where the address. It tells me how many records there are. It tells me that this is owned and managed by the Union Township Trustees. Every single cemetery has different offerings. So just because one doesn't have very much doesn't mean another cemetery won't. So always take a look at what is offered in any cemetery that you think your ancestor might live in. I'm going to choose down here these burial records. And take a look at this. This is a typed document. Okay, so I can't see an original, but this is a transcription or perhaps just an abstract. I'm not 100% sure. But look at this. I'm getting name, gender, date of death, age at death, date of burial, location of burial, place of birth in some cases, place of death, even a cause of death in some of these, family members' names, relationship to the plot owner, and a funeral home name. This is fantastic. I mean, if you don't have a death certificate or you can't get a hold of a death certificate for whatever reason, this is a great option, a burial or cemetery record. So that brings us to these burials or cemetery records. They are not the same as a death record, but they sure can come in handy when you can't find a death record. Or even if you can find a death record, they might give you additional information you wouldn't get anywhere else. A burial or cemetery record is recorded and made at the time of the burial or the placement of the remains. It's usually created by the cemetery or the sexton or the church or what have you. It may be in the form of a book, might be a ledger, a little notebook, might even be on loose papers and filing cabinets, and I've even seen them on index cards. So any number of possibilities. You need to know that cemetery records are also known by many other names: burial records, sexton records, monument inscriptions, burial registry, cemetery deeds, plot registers. Now, each one of those may be slightly different, but depending on your locale, the burial records might not be existent, but these other things might, like cemetery deeds, and so they will be similar. Where do you find cemetery or burial records? Well, there's more than a dozen places, I'm sure, but some of the top places are at the burial location. Some of these cemeteries rather, have an office, or the church may have an office that's open, and so the cemetery records may be located there. You might find them online. Google, you could find them on a county level, maybe at the county courthouse in some cases, the township level, a local library or a society, even a website online. Now, I want to tell you a little story about this whole township level thing. If you're not familiar with townships, most of the United States is formed into counties. So the United States has states, right, like Ohio, and then the state has numerous counties, and then a county will have numerous townships. That's typically how it works. And these townships can be really tiny. And it just so happens that I live in Brown Township. And I was wanting to find the cemetery records of our local little cemetery. And so I start looking around. I can't find them anywhere. So I call up the township trustees, which happens to be my dad, and ask, where do you think the cemetery records are? And he says, oh, they're over at so-and-so's house. Oh, of course. Well, what you need to know is that when these little townships are working along doing these different types of things, a certain trustee may take these records into their own home. And so you might have to Google such and such township trustees, get the names of the trustees of a certain township, and give them a call. That information is public. It is open to the public. It's on Google. You can find it. And give them a call and ask, where are your cemetery records? And they might be located right there in the house. So there's a little tidbit for you. I want to take you through this example of what a cemetery record could mean for your family history. This is Samuel Pancake, Ross County, Ohio. Now, I'm not related to Samuel Pancake, but anybody with the name Pancake is pretty interesting if you ask me. So I had to find out more about Samuel. He was last found in the 1880 census. I found no death record online, couldn't find a tombstone picture online. I did find his probate, and he was supposedly deceased by the 17th of October, 1885, but that's all I knew. So I Googled it. I put in the words Twin Township, because that's where he lived, Ross County, Ohio Cemetery. That's all I put in there. And it just so happens that Ross County group had gone through and scanned the cemetery books and put them online. And I found Samuel Pancake. This is him down at the bottom. You'll notice he's in Lot S. He's in grave number 4. It says Samuel Pancake was born December 1825. It actually says December 1st, 1825. And that he died September 25th, 1885. So that is fantastic. I have a birth and a death date. Now, I don't have where they got that information from. Maybe it was from whoever buried him. Did they have firsthand knowledge of his being born in 1825 on December 1st? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But this is at least some sort of record as to his birth and death. And you'll notice that these lots, they were all deeded to Mary Brown Pancake. Well, who might she be? Obviously some sort of relative. You'll notice these other relatives here that are buried nearby in the same lot or a nearby lot. So this is a fantastic record, and all I did was Googled it. You might not know, but FamilySearch has many cemetery records online. They're just going. And if you haven't taken a look at the cemetery records for your targeted location at FamilySearch, you'll want to do that. So let me show you how you find cemetery records for free at FamilySearch. Here you are at FamilySearch.org. That's www.familysearch.org. You've got to sign in to be able to get these goodies. Now look, you're not going to sign in and then get tons of emails from them all the time and be harassed and all that. No, this is just a way for them to manage the business portion of FamilySearch and for them to know what is being popular, what is being looked at, and what is still needed. So once you're signed in, you're going to click on search and choose catalog from the pull down menu. At catalog, you're going to notice a place field where you can type in a name of a place. Start with the biggest and go to the smallest. So whatever country you're researching in, okay, so in this case, I put in United States, comma, Ohio, comma, Hamilton, meaning Hamilton County. If I was interested in Hungary, I might put in Hungary, comma, Vas, comma, Cortland, or the village of Cortland, okay? So from largest to smallest. And you'll see this list of all these amazing things that FamilySearch has for this location. And they're in alphabetical order. So we got archives, Bible, biography, business, and cemeteries. And let's click on the cemeteries. There's 18, so this is just a little sampling. And you'll see that there are some cemetery deeds right here. Let's click on that and just take a look, see what it looks like. Here we have cemetery deeds, 1859 to 1934. And if we scroll down and we see a little camera, that means we have access to see the digital images for free from home. If there's a little key over top, it means you need to go to your local family history center to be able to view those records. If it looks like a little roll of microfilm, it means it's not been digitized yet, but give it some time, it won't be long. So let's click on that little camera and boom, look at this. You are looking at the digital images of this microfilm, just like you were back in the old days in the microfilm. You know, have a cover over your head and zooming through these pictures. You're looking at them from home. You can zoom in, zoom out, go left to right through these images, print them, download them, attach them to your family tree, add them to a source box, you name it, you can do it. And these records are free. Now, you can find many burial records at MyHeritage, and when it comes to a worldwide collection of burial records, this is the place to go. And so you can do that by logging in at myheritage.com, clicking on research, and from the pull-down menu, choose Collection Catalog. Now, you can search for a collection by keyword. You could put in cemetery, you could put in burial, you could put in sexton records, you can put in death, whatever that might be. I put in burial. And we could, look at this, we have 116 collections. I can refine this by location here on the left. But let's just take a look at this. Like here we have our Denmark church records. And we all know that many church record collections also contain burial records or burial registers. And so these are from Denmark. Look at that, 48 million records, over 48 million records. And the images are available there. Maybe we have some relatives in Norway. Look at this, we've got 42 million up here. So wonderful record collections can be seen at MyHeritage. The bottom line, guys, is that using cemeteries and records such as burial records can give you new clues for your family history. It can fill in the gaps where other records can't be found. I certainly have numerous relatives that no death record, no obituary, but I did find a burial record. I did find sometimes a cemetery record. So that is something I want you to add to your list of possible places to look for information about your ancestors. And I hope that this has been helpful to you, exciting. I hope you want to spend the rest of the day looking. If you have a chance, pop over to my blog, thegenealogyreporter.com, or visit me on YouTube for some more information, education, inspiration, and so forth. I look forward to seeing you there. And now I'm going to stop sharing here and move this over to Esther.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That was incredible. And I see the comments coming in about how useful. And Marty says, super webinar. Let's see, we have a comment from Bernadine who says, I was able to locate graves using BillionGraves when I was in a cemetery in Pennsylvania. So a lot of really nice comments here that have come in. And we have a bunch of questions, if that's okay, Amie.
Okay, I hope I can answer them. You go for it.
Okay, just before I get to the questions, I just want to remind everyone, since there was so much great info in this Facebook Live, that if you missed any of it, no need to worry. You can rewatch this Facebook Live as well as all of our Facebook Lives on the MyHeritage Facebook page under the videos section. So no need to, I mean, it's great to take notes, but you can always rewatch it just in case you missed anything. So let's see, we have a few questions here. Sandy asks, is Find a Grave only for the US or is it international?
It is international.
Okay.
Just that simple, international.
Fantastic. And I see Linda wrote, thanks for the info on citations on Find a Grave. I had completely missed that.
It's nice that it's already written out for you and in the proper format. I mean, that's just a lifesaver. If you need the same format for BillionGraves or something of that nature, you can go over to Find a Grave, pick any memorial, pick the citation, and just remove the appropriate information and swap it. Oops, excuse me. Swap it with the BillionGraves information. Then you'll have the proper citation for that one too. Oh,
great. Lori asks, can you also put a map into the virtual cemetery?
I'm thinking she probably is talking about the virtual cemetery for Find a Grave, where you start collecting them and move them into your virtual cemetery. I don't know if you can do that on the website through the PC version, but the app has an option for GPS coordinates. So the app works differently than the website itself. Well, and that's kind of true with BillionGraves too, which is really nice because it allows you to, for example, if you're at a cemetery and you find something, you take a picture of it. If you're using the app to take that picture, it automatically puts that GPS coordinates into the system. So where I don't know exactly if what she's asking, if you can see that from the website on the virtual cemetery, I'm fairly certain you would be able to find that on the app.
Kathy writes, thank you for an excellent presentation. And Mary says here, excellent presentation, lots of useful info. There really was just so much useful information. We have a question here from Brenda, and she asks, how do you trace Native American information and family in Europe?
Okay, let me make sure I understand that. She says, how do you trace Native American ancestry in Europe or and?
And.
Okay, so that is a huge question, very general and broad. But the answer for the Native American question is pop over to the blog at www.thegenealogyreporter and type in Native American. And I go through several different ways in which you can trace your Native American ancestry. The thing is, it's not necessarily through DNA. It's going to be through a paper trail. And when we're talking about Native Americans and their and ways to trace that ancestry, depending on whether or not your tribe affiliation was locally, like maybe the southeast part of the United States versus the southwest, there are going to be different ways to do it. You might be surprised to find out that as you research Catholic records, especially for marriages, you may find Native American records that you need there. For example, my daughter, my adopted daughter, was born in New Mexico, and while researching her Mexican line back through the Catholic marriage records, I was able to find her 5th great grandmother who was a Kiowa Indian, and it said so in the paperwork for a marriage of her daughter. So we were actually able to find her tribe, and that was through a Catholic record. So there are literally dozens of ways to do the Native American research. You just got to do the paper trail. It's not going to be easy. Now, as for Europe, there again, there are hundreds of things you can do for that. And I would suggest going to legaciesfamilytreewebinars.com. Type in the place that you're interested in, whether that's Sweden, France, Germany, wherever, and watch the webinars there that teach you how to do research in a specific area. Fantastic information will be found there.
Great advice. I see Lori says, wonderful review of available resources. Amie, thank you. So just so much great, so many great tips here of where to go and where to start looking. So I think that everyone probably has a lot of takeaways going forward from this session, which is incredible. And I think now we'll give our My Heritage Complete Plan to one lucky winner from today's show. So just to remind you all, the My Heritage Complete Plan is the best plan that we have to offer on My Heritage. It includes access to 14 billion historical records, unlimited family tree size, advanced DNA tools, access to all of our photo tools. So a fantastic gift for one lucky winner. And today we're going to be giving it away to William J. Watson. And William wrote to us. Here's what he wrote, Amie. He said, I make great use of Find a Grave for my own family and for the surname project, for which I'm an admin. The best surprise was finding that someone had posted a couple of fabulous photos from 1910 of my grandmother, her parents, and siblings before they left England for Canada. A distant cousin I didn't know had posted them. We've since exchanged messages, and we are now Facebook friends. What a story.
That's a great story. I want to add to that because I am so impressed that if you notice, he said he used Find a Grave, right? That was his starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a situation where I used Find a Grave and noticed that this person had put up some pictures. I contacted them and ended up with a whole album of family pictures that none of us have. You never know what cousin got all the stuff, right? And you lose track of those second and third cousins. And some of them are willing to share those. And so that is awesome. I'm excited for him. That's wonderful.
Wow. A whole album. What luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible. So William, congratulations, and we'll be in touch with you through private message to claim your prize. Thank you everyone for joining us today from near and from far. Amie, thank you so much for all your wisdom and the amazing presentation, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
And we hope that you all have a great day or a great night to those of you from Australia joining in. Bye, everybody.